In this tutorial, we're going to look at what is a CDN, how do they work, and then how to set up in Magento MaxCDN in just a few minutes.
That's right, Dave. Now, the first pivotal question is, what is a CDN and how do they work? Content delivery networks, or CDNs as they're known by, used to be really expensive, and today they're super cheap, and you can reap the many rewards of using a CDN for your business. And the good news, I think, Dave, is that they're extremely quick to set up too. Now, Dave, what are we going to be covering in this tutorial?
So, firstly, we're going to look a little bit more deeply into what a CDN is and how they actually work for those of you who have no idea what a content delivery network is. We're going to look at some of the benefits of using a CDN and how much that they're likely to cost and what you actually get for that amount of money. And finally, we're going to head over to Magento and show you how to set up something called MaxCDN in your Magento system.
Now, this is going to be a slightly longer tutorial because we want to give you the insight and the reasoning behind how a CDN works and why you should be using a CDN. Now, this isn't going to be a short tutorial. It only literally takes 3 minutes to set up a CDN with Magento because it's only 3 settings to put in. And we want to literally take your hand from the beginning, explain what a CDN is, all the way through to setting it up in your Magento website. So go and grab yourself a cup of coffee, a cup of tea or a squash, or just hit continue. And just a little heads up, this isn't going to be a short tutorial by any means. Okay. So let's start this off with what is a CDN. Now, a CDN, as we learned a few moments ago, is an acronym for Content Delivery Network. But what is a CDN, Dave?
Well, a CDN transmits static files. That can be your images or your CSS or your JavaScript files. And it takes them from your web host server to a network of servers that are located all around the world. And they cache the files and deliver them to your customers based upon that location.
Now, there are many benefits to using a CDN, and we'll cover some of those in a few moments. But the biggest one of all is page loading speed for your customers, because we all love fast loading websites, right?
Oh yeah, totally.
Now, there is a little extra note here as well, is that you can also use a CDN for your eBay listings as well, and there'll be a little bit more about that a little bit later.
Right, Matt, so we've just put a map up that you can see right now, and we're going to take the example that our website is based just outside of London in the UK.
Now, I've been off of that little dot on top of Maidenhead because that's one of the major data centres within the United Kingdom. And moving on a slide is that just imagine now that you've got 3 customers. You've got a customer somewhere in France, Munich, and what was the top one, Dave?
That's around Hamburg way.
Okay, so we've got 3 customers, 1 in France, 1 in Munich, and 1 in Hamburg. Now, what actually happens is that when you're using a CDN, is that you have something called edge locations, and this basically means servers in different countries. So if you think about one of your products right now, so maybe it's a toy or a mobile phone case, for example, is that image is going to be put out onto the edge location. So maybe in Amsterdam and maybe in Frankfurt as well. Now, if you're using a CDN, instead of your customer having to go all the way across through the country, across the channel into the United Kingdom to get the image, and then for that image to travel all the way back, is that the image will be served to your customer based upon location. So in this instance, our customer at the top of the screen, which was in Hamburg,
yep,
sorry to get my locations right, will be served from the orange dot, which is an edge location in Amsterdam. Our customer in Munich will be served from the server in Frankfurt because that's the closer one, and the same for the customer in France as well. The distance is much shorter, hence our images, our JavaScript files, our CSS or style sheets, or any static files will be delivered to our customers much more quickly. Now, Dave, this is where it gets exciting because we can then look at our business across the globe. And what I've been and done now is that you can see the green dot, which is Maidenhead, and we can see that we've got lots of orange dots spread all around the world. So we can see that we've got our dot, which was in Amsterdam. We've got the dot which we had in Munich over in Europe, but we've got other dots as well. You can see that we've got a dot in Australia. So if you think about your customers in Australia, instead of them having to go all the way across to the UK to get the image and then deliver it all the way back to Australia, it can be served from somewhere in Sydney, for example. And then if we've got a customer over in, say, California, over on the West Coast, is that they're not going to have to bounce all the way across the pond to the UK to get that image. They're going to be served from a server which is local to them. Now, of course, if you're based in Europe, then the green dot would move around. And again, if you're based in the United States, then your green dot would be based in the United States, and that server location in the UK, maybe in London, for example, would mean that your customers in the UK would get your website assets much, much more quickly instead of having to bounce halfway around the globe and deliver them back again. Now, Dave, there's a couple of benefits of using a CDN, and we've seen from a global picture that we're going to get our assets, the images, your style sheets, your JavaScript files, and maybe PDFs, for example, are going to be delivered from much closer locations. Now, there are some other benefits as well, aren't there?
Yes, sure. So as we just mentioned, the main one is speed, and that's because the server location is actually closer to where your customer's location is. That just makes everything much quicker. But an additional benefit, Matt, is that of crash resistance and less bandwidth. Now, because all of the files are being served by the CDN, that generally breaks down the load on your web server because the files are being shared around from your hosting.
That's right. So what actually happens in the background is, say that we've got an image of a mobile phone, for example, and instead of each of your customers going to that page and requesting that image and that coming from your own web hosting, what actually happens in the background is that the CDN will go to your website, download that image, and then distribute it across the globe. Now, the CDN doesn't keep coming back for that same image, and the customer doesn't keep coming back for that same image. And the reason for that is because it then gets distributed across the globe. So when somebody in Australia, for example, requests that image, they don't come to your website, they go to one of the edge locations, one of those orange dots instead of your green dot, if that makes sense.
Also, Matt, there's going to be an SEO benefit as well, because Google has made no bones about it that they rank faster websites higher than slower websites. So if your website's pages are being loaded quicker, then that is going to give you a search advantage in the search engines.
Yeah, that's right. And Google have really clearly stated faster loading sites gives a better user experience for customers. And on that topic, we've chucked in a couple of dollar signs. It's just a better user experience because we all love fast loading websites, and faster loading websites basically equals higher conversion rate.
It's quite an impressive stat, and it's one which has been widely publicised around the web, and that is that for every 100 millisecond delay in page rendering time resulted in a 1% loss of sales for Amazon.
Yeah, that's just insane kind of differences. And moving on, I chose this example on purpose because everybody should know, or would know, Barack Obama. Okay, now Dave, do you want to just read this one out? Because it's a lot of money.
Yeah, well, I did politics at university, so that I know the amount of funding that these campaigns take, and yeah, they deal in lots of money. But Kyle Rush from the 2011 Obama for America campaign showed through A/B testing that a 3-second page time reduction, and that's from just 5 seconds to 2 seconds, improved the on-site donations by 14%. Now, 14% resulted in an increase of over $34 million in election contributions to the Obama campaign.
That's right. Now, we aren't saying that you're going to get that kind of speed increase or that kind of donations going to your site. But what we can say ourselves is that we use MaxCDN, and we're going to show you how to set this up in a few moments. And Dave, I've shown you what we need to do for this, and it's like 3 settings. It is so easy to do.
Oh, yeah.
So we're not promising that you're going to see this kind of increase for your website, but it is still going to be a massive increase. And again, we've done our own testing in the background. We use MaxCDN ourselves for our own website over on Understanding E. Now, Dave, I also mentioned that there are some other benefits as well, and we get to this topic of eBay. Now, When it comes to eBay, Magento, and M2E Pro, you can use the CDN for static files. Now, those files could be images, JavaScript files, and CSS files.
And that means, Matt, that you can use a CDN to serve images and resource files, not only on your Magento website, but on eBay as well.
And there is a note here as well that M2E Pro does support the use of a CDN. So this means that any images which are static files like style sheets, for example, used within your eBay listings can be delivered more quickly to your customers on eBay. And of course, that also saves you bandwidth as well. Now, just pause for a few moments here, and we're going to wrap up in a very quick summary as well, which is that if the CDN is only going to get the image once from your website, you don't have lots and lots of customers. Again, you would get that on eBay with very popular listings, a very high amount of traffic. That's going to reduce the load on your website. So when a customer comes to your website rather than eBay, is that your website's going to load nice and quickly because you don't have this massive burden of lots and lots of customers on eBay looking at your listings, which are using the same images. Now, Dave, I did mention a quick summary here as well before we continue.
Yep.
So what are the 6 things which we've been covered so far?
Running through quickly before we head over to Magento, we learned that a CDN stands for Content Delivery Network, and that we can use them for transferring static files like images all over the world. It can result in lower bandwidth usage, meaning that you can stay on cheaper hosting for longer. They also help make the pages load faster because they're delivering them from closer locations to your customers, which in turn will give you a boost in search engine optimization because Google love faster loading websites.
Yeah, we all want a fast internet, and a CDN helps the internet run faster because your customers are getting those images, those static files from locations which are much, much more closer to them. And again, Dave, just going off the script here a little bit, there was a question in the forums, pretty sure it's Mark which asked this, which was that if I only sell in the UK, will I see a benefit from a CDN? And the answer was a straight yes, it was, because Google is going to see your site running faster. Again, just ignore the rest of the globe. And again, the same if you're based in the United States or in Australia, for example. We would still suggest using CDN for your Magento website, and also specifically for eBay too, is because that means that you can stay on a cheaper web hosting package for much longer because you're not using massive amounts of bandwidth. And of course, any of those assets are going to be delivered to your customers much, much more quickly. And of course, that's just a better experience for your customers. And again, you, as our customers on understandinge.com, is that our site loads faster because we are using our CDN. So we're not just taking you through this just because we think it's good. We're actually preaching because we actually know that it works really well for our own website and want to help you in your business as well. Now, Dave, the best thing is
that it only takes literally a couple of minutes to set up. It costs peanuts, and it is 3 settings in Magento that you need to change.
Yeah, that's right. And when we say cost peanuts, we're talking $9 a month. It is kind of that straight. It's kind of 2 cups of coffee, 3 cups of coffee.
It's £5.
It's £5.
Maybe just a little bit more.
Yeah, and you've kind of covered the cost of it. And again, if it means that you stay in a smaller hosting package for longer, if you compare the cost of Magento web hosting quality, Magento web hosting, and the speed increase which you're going to get, the maths just don't work out. Just grab a CDN. And that's what we're going to be showing you in the rest of this tutorial. And again, follow us along in your system. And that's where we're going to catch up with you in a few moments' time. And we're going to jump across to a company called MaxCDN. Now, this is, like I said earlier, we actually use MaxCDN ourselves. So we're not saying that you should use this company and have not used them ourselves. We use them on Understanding E. And again, there will be an advanced tutorial which follows this tutorial, which will show you how to create up custom domain names. So instead of having there like netdna-cdn.com, which doesn't look that professional, you can have something like cdn.mycooldomainname.com. So we'll cover that off in a second tutorial as well. So if you would like to go to understandinge.com/go-to-max, and that will take you to the Max CDN website. Again, a heads up, we will earn a very small commission if you follow that link. And again, if you don't want to give us anything, just go to maxcdn.com and then just follow us along from there. So we'll catch up with you there in a few moments' time. Okay, so to get to the MaxCDN website, if you go to understandinge.com/go-to-max, so I'm just going to hit return in my browser. It's going to take us across to the MaxCDN website. And we're not going to hang around. What we're after is the See Plans and Pricing button. Okay, now, Dave, you spotted this, didn't you, a few moments ago, that if we stay on this page for a few moments, something special happens, doesn't it?
It did. That's happened to me just before we hit record. We were just checking the pricing levels, and as I was on the site, a nice little pop-up window came up with a nice handy surprise for me. We're just going to wait and see if it'll do the same thing.
What we're looking for, there was this little green bar which appeared at the top, which is that it gave us a discount code of max. Oh, there we go.
There it is.
There it is, at the top of the screen, Max CDN plan. And if we enter the code called MAX20, okay, now, no guarantees that this will work for you and when you're on this page, but that's what we noticed when we're on the Max CDN website, which is that we get this little green bar up here at the top and we get a 20% discount code. Okay, so, and what we're going to suggest is that you choose the 100 gig monthly plan, not the more expensive ones, okay? Just go with the smallest plan possible. The reason being is because if you do hit the limits is that you can upgrade later. So rather than spending $30, $60, $240 for a CDN, is that we only use the $9 a month hosting package for our site. And it gives you absolutely loads. So let's go and click on sign up for the 100 gig plan. Now, we do need to fill out some details on here, and we can see that the coupon code's been applied over here on the right-hand side. Now, we do need to go and fill these details out, and we're going to go and do that in the background. And before we go and do that, we just want to point out, you can pay by credit card, you can pay via PayPal or Bitcoin as well. Now, we are personally going to be using PayPal, and what we're going to do, we're going to fill these details out, and we'll catch up with you in a few moments' time. Now, we've just been and filled the details out on our screen. So we've put our address details in, we've been and paid via PayPal, and we've come to a page like this. Now, you'll notice in step one, we've been sent an email from MaxCDN. If you then click on that link, you'll go to a page like this, and it'll tell you that you're all set and your account has now been activated, and log in to manage your account. So let's go and click on login. And a quick little note is that if you do get lost at any point in time, or you ended up on a different page, is that back on the MaxCDN website, in the top right hand corner, on the second bar down, there is a little login link as well. Okay, so you will need to activate your account via email. And if you do get lost at any point in time, just go to maxcdn.com and click the little login link in the top right hand corner. Now, we will need to enter our details in here, which I am going to blur out just for security. And once you've entered your details, which your email address and the password which you specified back on the last page, is then click on login, and you'll come to a page which looks like this. And it doesn't look very exciting right now. Again, it might also look a bit scary, Dave, as well, for the first time which you've seen MaxCDN.
Yes, it almost reminds me of Magento with the empty graph. When we first logged in there.
Indeed, and of course over time that graph will get bigger, so the more traffic you put through, you'll be able to visually see how much the CDN is doing for you. Now, we do need to create a zone. Okay, now it sounds really scary, but actually it's really easy. We need to create something called a pull zone. And what that means is that, remember back in the earlier part of the tutorial, we said that when a customer requests an image, is that the CDN, in this case MaxCDN, will go to your web server and then take that image. And the term which they use is pull that image, and it will put it into an orange dot on the map. Okay, so what we need to do is create a zone. So we're going to go and click on the link down here called Manage Zones to create zones. Or you could use the little zones icon at the top. And then if you click on the button which says Create Pull Zone, so I'm just going to highlight that on your screen for you. So create pull zone. Now we need to name it. So what we need to do, we're going to call this 0 to Mag. like so, so 0 to Magento. The origin server URL, now that sounds a bit complicated, Dave, but all that means is that that's our website domain name. So that's http://www.0to-mag.co.uk, just like so. And for the label, I'm just going to put 0 to Mag in there as well. Okay, and then click on Create. Now, this will take a few minutes to go through, and there we go. You can see it's up and running right now. And we're now going to go and click on Close on the pop-up window. Now, you don't need Edge SSL unless your business can afford that. And what that means is that you can use a CDN for the secure pages on your website. Now, if you do have a decent volume of traffic on your Magento website and can afford the extra $40 a month, then we would suggest going with that. And if you can't, just go with the $9 or so a month, because that's exactly what we use, Dave. And it's nice and straightforward and super, super cheap. So you'll now see is that we've got a zone ID, we've got a cluster, and the crucial point, I'm just going to highlight this on your screen for you, which is the CDN URL. So we've got 0 to mag.understanding.netdna-cdn.com. Now, that is a little bit of a mouthful, and I will make a second tutorial for you to show how you can make a CNAME alias on your web hosting and put that into your DNS settings and make a much shorter URL. But we wanted to get you up as running as fast as we could. So just copy this CDN URL like so. And that's really important. Okay, so copy that. Now, Dave, I said to set this up in Magento was really, really simple.
Yeah, something like 3 settings that we had to change.
Absolute child's play. So we've got another tab open here, which is our Magento website. So if you're not logged into your Magento website, hit pause on this video and get up to your dashboard, and then we'll catch up with you in a few moments' time. So assuming that you've been logged in, is that if you go to System and then Configuration at the bottom, and then over on the left-hand side, and again, I'm going to highlight this section on the left for you, is that you want the Web tab on the left-hand side. So I've just highlighted that section on the left, and then click on there. And the other section which we want is the Unsecure option here as well. Now, we are using the Understanding E Magento admin theme, so if you don't see this green page and you'll see a blue and an orange page, don't panic, it's exactly the same page. We've just got a green theme in our Magento admin. Now, there's 3 settings, Dave, as I mentioned, which we need to change. You'll notice you've got the base skin URL, you've got the base media URL, and the base JavaScript URL. We need to enter the same settings for all 3 of these. So we're going to type in http://. We're then going to paste that path in and then /. So let me just highlight that on my screen for you. We've typed in http://, then whatever the CDN URL was, then a /, and then skin. Okay, so let's copy that and then type that out again. And where we've got the unsecure base URL and the media on the end, so I've just deleted that, I'm going to paste that in. And again, it's really important that you must remember to put the / between the CDN URL and the media or the skin directory or the JavaScript setting, which is this one below. So let me just delete that out a moment. There we go. So we can see that we've got http $/.netdna-cdn.com/JS/. Now, with those settings in place, and again, do not edit the top 2 settings. Okay, you only want to be editing these bottom 3 settings for skin, media, and JavaScript. Is that once you've been and changed those, press Save Config in the top right-hand corner, and Dave, that was it.
Nice.
That was it. There's our 3 settings in, and we've now told Magento to use a content delivery network for our website.
Easy as that.
As easy as that. Now, a quick little note for those users which are watching this video and are using M2E Pro to sell onto eBay is that M2E Pro will take notice of these settings, and if you revise your listings on eBay, is that they will then use this path for your media. So if for any of the images, for example, will be taken from MaxCDN, remember that when the first time somebody comes to view an image, one of the images within inside your eBay listing, is that it will be pulled from your website or in your website hosting, but then it will be put into those edge locations, those little orange dots, and then distributed across the globe. So we're based in the UK, so a customer in Australia or India or the United States will get that image served locally from wherever they are in the world. Now, Dave, there are a couple of other things which we just quickly need to do, which is that if we go to System and then go down to Cache Management, and again, this is just good practice for making any major changes to our Magento website, is the number one, we want to clear out all the caches. So I've been in select on the left and hit Submit on the right-hand side. We want to clear out both the top two cache buttons up here as well. So I've just clicked on Flush Magento Cache. Flush Magento Cache Storage, and that one will give you a pop-up as well. So that will take a few moments to go through. And then crucially, you also want to hit these bottom two buttons as well. The first of all is for the images cache down at the bottom, and the other one is for the JavaScript and CSS files. So click those and let the page refresh. Now, Dave, up here, what I've been and got is the page. This is just a search on our testing website on zerotomag.co.uk, and it was a search for boots. Okay, and we've got 3 images in there. So let me just open that image up in another tab, and you'll see that it's coming from our website. So every time a customer comes to our website, assuming they search for boots, for example, this image is going to have to be served from our Magento web hosting, which is with Simple Servers. And you'll see the domain names up there. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to copy that URL. I'm going to open up a new tab, paste the link in there. Okay, and let's now have a look at that image. So I'm going to open that up in a new URL. And there we go, Dave. Can you see at the beginning? Yep. Let me just put this side by side. So there's our original one, zerotomag.co.uk/media. There's our new one, zerotomag, and then the CDN URL. And that means that anytime someone comes to view this image, it's being delivered by the Content Delivery Network. Now, a few moments ago, I did do a test using a website tool called webpagetest.org, and we ran it, and the site ran in at 6.194 seconds, okay, and there was no CDN on here. So what I'm going to do, for exactly the same URL, I'm going to run this in the background, so you can see the time on here right now. So we've been recording this tutorial for 10, 20 minutes, something like that. What we're going to do, we're going to just open it up in a new tab. We're going to paste that in. We're going to leave the settings the same, so London and Chrome, exactly what we had back on the other tab. And let's go and click on Start Test. And we're just going to let this run. So this will take a few seconds. And instead of making you wait, what we're going to do, we're just going to come back to you in a few moments' time once it's been finished. So we've been to rerun the test. Now, the first thing to point out is that one thing which I personally like about webpagetest.org is that it will tell you if you're using a CDN. You can see we've got a great big green tick up here in the top right hand corner. So if I can compare that back to the original result, is that we had F, C, A, B, F, A, and then effective use of a CDN, is that if we go back on here, we've got this tick on the right hand side. And we'll also just put these side by side. So originally we were about 6.194 seconds. And then on this one here, we're at 4.7 seconds. Now, that's roughly a 23% decrease in page load times. Now, obviously, there was a slight difference in the time to first byte, but that's still 20% increase, Dave. Or decrease, should I say.
Increase in performance, decrease in time.
Yeah. Exactly. And of course, if you then think about it, like we were saying back at the beginning, for all of the images which are on your Magento website, so all the product images, they are going to get now served from a CDN, MaxCDN. We saw that we just needed to put a domain name in. It was 3 settings in CDN. We copied the URL, we put that into Magento, and we just changed the skin, the media, and the JS folder. We changed that over, and we just saw a decent increase in speed. And of course, that also means that there's going to be less traffic going to your Magento website, so that it can respond quicker, and that there is going to be less media requests going to your Magento website as well.
So in this tutorial, we introduce you to something called MaxCDN and why CDNs can be so useful for your business. We started off by looking at what a CDN, or a content delivery network, is and how they work, and what some of the benefits are of using a CDN and how much they're likely to cost. And then what Matt showed us is how we actually set up MaxCDN in our Magento system. And what we've seen is for the cost of just $9 or £5 per month, we've just knocked, was it 23% off our page load times? That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty impressive. Again, all we did was just change 3 URLs. We also reduced the amount of traffic going to our Magento website. And again, if you're selling on eBay, just think about the number of times that your listings are being seen by customers every month. And you may be on a restricted plan. So I'm thinking about simple servers right now. And again, we use simple servers and we use MaxCDN, and we use the shared hosting account with simple servers. And there is a cap of 50 gigabytes worth of transfer per month for our shared hosting account. And because all of our images and all the static files like scripts and CSS files are all being transferred via MaxCDN, that means that we can stay in a shared hosting environment for much, much longer. And on the flip side, for you as our customer coming to the understandinge.com website, is that the website loads much more quickly for you. And now let's flip the tables again and think about your customers. So your customer on your Magento website, the images are going to load faster. The JavaScript and the CSS files are also going to load faster as well. And then for eBay, is that every time one of your listings is viewed by a customer, if you've got the images in there, like maybe you've got an image gallery, for example, or maybe your theme files for your custom eBay listing template, is that if you set them up to use MaxCDN, they'll be loaded much, much more quickly than what they would do if they come out of your own web hosting. And again, I included the picture of the globe on the right hand side, and we've got the green dot in the middle for the United Kingdom because that's where we're based. And of course, if you're based in the US, put your green dot in the nearest location to you, and the same for Australia or in Southern Africa, for example. Those images and files are going to be distributed across the globe, and they are going to be served from the nearest location to your customer. So in our case, if we're doing cross-border trade into Europe, for example, those images or those assets are going to be transferred from, say, Amsterdam or Frankfurt. Or if maybe we're looking to sell into the United States, it's going to be served from Dallas or somewhere over on the East Coast or the West Coast, maybe New York, for example. And again, if you're based in Australia and you're looking to sell into Europe or into the United States, all of your images and your assets are going to be delivered much, much more quickly, because the time which it takes from Australia to Dallas, for example, that's quite a huge leap across the map. Whereas if it's been served locally within Dallas, it's going to be much, much more quicker. And it's so inexpensive. And again, we've shown you how to set it up with Magento, and we're showing you something which we use and we've used for a very long time now. It's one of the first speed increases, which I personally added to the Understanding E website, and we certainly hope that you see some decent speed increases for your Magento website and your business on the marketplaces like eBay as well. And it really is quite cost effective as well, Dave. And Dave, the expenses, $9 a month for our account, we don't even notice it.
No, exactly.
Yeah, it's peanuts. So we hope you've been and found this tutorial helpful. Any comments or feedback would be amazing, so you can let us know in the comments box below. So for myself, Matt.
And for me, Dave.
We'll catch you soon. Cheerios.